And then maybe you can follow along with a little tutorial I've got. Comes off as redundant. If it's something you already know, then you can stop me. That's fine. You can say, hey, this is really boring. I already know all this. And I won't be insulted. So let's start with our canvas. Don't look at what I'm doing. Okay, now you're good. So our canvas is going to be, let me double check my notes. Canvas is going to be 1350 pixels by 1080 pixels. We would make a cartoony donut, something really, really simple. Your canvas is ready. We're going to start with a gray background. And I like to do that because it helps us to see the color values a lot easier in comparison to each other. So it doesn't have to be a perfect middle gray. It can be a little lighter. This is a light gray, but it'll help you a lot looking at the colors to see them for what they really are instead of just how they look in comparison to each other. So the pen we're going to be using is the monoline pen right here under calligraphy.
Yeah.
And we're going to have that at size 3%. So let's create a circle first, because we're just creating a regular, please show my layer, thank you. We're just creating a regular donut. And I'm sure you already know how to do this, where you just make a circle like that.
Yeah.
Cool. So we're just going to do that twice, essentially. One for the big donut and then one for the donut hole right in the middle. And you want to click on the perfect circle. So that way they're perfect circles of each other. Just like that. Great. So now we're going to click the cursor to select our entire layer. Now we have this, and we have a sort of silhouette of a donut, which is great. We're going to take this top left corner here, and we're going to carefully drag it down just a tiny bit. Oh, I'm sorry, I forgot a step. We're going to set our barrier to distort. And then we're going to take this top left corner and pull it down just a little bit like that. And you can see now the difference between uniform and distort because of my mistake. If I'm going too slow or too fast, you gotta tell me, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So you can select away from that by selecting the brush, and then you're going to duplicate this layer because I want to use it again later. I won't tell you for what yet, but we want to duplicate it so we have it, and then we'll just hide it because we don't want to look at it. We're going to use it later. For this main layer that we're using, we're going to go up here to our colors, and we're going to pick out the color of our donut. So bread tends to be, or dough, when cooked, the way a donut is, tends to be a very, very light orangey yellow. Something sort of like this for the sake of a cartoon. It doesn't have to be perfect, but something like that is pretty close because they tend to get fried and they're not cooked all the way through. And so you're not going to see a perfect toast. It's going to be pretty pale. Now, so what's next is the part of this that I really want you to take away from this tutorial is what I have coming next, which is the shading that I'm going to do. It's going to be a really simple part of shading that's going to create some 3D dimensionality to this donut. So how much do you know about clipping masks?
Uh, mm, no, I don't know.
You don't
But
know?
no, I don't know
Okay,
what it is.
you don't? Okay. So they're super easy and they're gonna be your best friend. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create one layer just over this donut. And to turn it into a clipping mask, which I'll explain in a minute, you click on this layer and you have all your options on the side. And right in the middle, right here, is clipping mask. So what you'll see, it's kind of bumped to the side with an arrow. What this does is that whatever I draw within this clipping mask ends up within this layer, but not on the outside of it. So this is a great way to edit the inside of a layer or to edit something really, really big without destroying it, like you would with alpha lock, which does the same thing, but you can't turn it on and off like you can a layer. You would have to undo it. So with this, what we're going to do, what clipping masks are so great for, is we're going to do some shading on the donut without it bleeding outside of the layer. So the pen I want you to use for that will be the acrylic pen under painting. And just to confirm, did you duplicate the
Yeah,
yeah, cool. Wasn't sure if I mentioned that. When I was practicing this with myself, I completely forgot to duplicate it and it totally messed me up. So the acrylic pen, which is going to be at about 32, size 32, will be fine. We're gonna take this color that we just made our donut and we're gonna make a shading color. We're gonna make this a darker version of the color we just had because it's going to be a shadow. So when I do shadows, it's obvious to make them a darker version of the color you're drawing on top of, but I like to go across the color wheel a little bit because I think it makes it more interesting. So I'm going to actually pull this to the side a bit and make it a little bit redder because I think that adds it a bit of intrigue. And as you'll see, this is the clipping mask is working correctly, so it's within the layer. So the type of shading I want to do on this donut is very, very simple. It's just two parts. We have the inside of the donut hole, which I want to look something like this. And then I have the outside, which I want to look something like this. You can redraw this a couple times if you want to make it really neat. I think I will. Let me just do that. Yeah, and it can be just that simple. So once you're done with that, you just let me know. You can take as much time as you need on it if you want it to be really, really neat.
uh, done.
Great. Awesome. So what now this obviously looks like shading. What I wanted to do with this, and it's okay if you didn't get this effect down or you don't think that you did, but let me just show you with a bright pen real quick. What this does, really, really simply, is create the illusion of a 3D depth. This right here is very clearly lit up by a light source. And this right here that we just drew on is clearly cast in shadow. And it was done very, very simply with just one color. So I wanted to show just how easy it is to create that illusion with just a simple color exchange and a few shapes that imply a shadow. So with that done, let's move on to our next put. Oh, and real quick, just for the sake of the line art, let's turn this clipping mask and let's change this setting right here. There's this N right next to the checkbox. Do you see it in your layers?
Yeah.
If you click on that, you'll have all these options to see how this layer is affected by the ones below it. It's going to always be set on normal by default. But for this one, I just want to turn it to darker color. So you'll notice it changes nothing except the line art stays exactly the same. And we can actually see it now as opposed to before where it was kind of hidden and it looked a little weird and didn't make a lot of sense. But now we can see it. Great. Okay. So let's do the frosting next, because right now we just have a bagel. So I'm going to go back to my mono line. I'm going to turn this back to black. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to my original line art of the donut that I put away before, because this is going to help me a lot. And make sure it doesn't accidentally get put into the clipping mask, because that happens sometimes. If it does, you can just click on it and change it, or you can pull it away. But we want these two to be at the top of the layer list. So this new layer, which is going to be our frosting, we're going to use the shadows that we just drew as our guide for where the curve of the frosting is going to sit. So this can be really, really simple. Just draw inside the lines, and we'll just make this really, really simple, wavy sort of thing that implies frosting. And we're going to do the same thing on the inner corner. Whoops. On the inner corner, right around the donut hole. This is another thing that you might have to redraw a couple of times. I think I'm going to redraw that, because it's a wavy line, and it's not going to look amazing on the first try, always. But I think that looks okay. I'm just going to clean up these edges a little bit, just because I happen to go out of the lines. There. You let me know once you're done with that.
Okay. Okay, I got it.
Awesome. Great. So you have that down, and the reason I wanted you to save that line art of the donut before is because it's going to save you all this time. Because now you have both of these, and you can just combine them together by clicking on the top one, which is your frosting that we just drew. You click on that, you have all these options, and you click merge down, and that's going to, sorry, you need to have them both visible, and I messed up. Anyways, you need to click merge down, and if they're both visible, then it'll actually work correctly. And then you have this new line art just for your frosting, which is really, really good. And you didn't have to sacrifice any other part of the process. So with this, now we can fill in our color for the frosting. So I actually wanted to leave that up to you. Whoops. What color frosting would you put on your donut, do you think?
Uh, Orange.
Orange. Actually, that I was not expecting that. Is that for fall season?
I just picked a random color.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Anyways, we're gonna put, just like we did with the donut, we're just gonna drag our color into the frosting, just like that. And you're gonna notice we're gonna do the same thing that we just did with the donut, with the shading. We're gonna have this new layer, make a new layer, turn it into a clipping mask by again clicking on it, clicking clipping mask, and now we can draw all over it, and it's great. So I'm going to take out the same pen I had before when we did the shading. I'm going to take out the acrylic pen under painting. I'm going to take the color of the frosting, and I'm just going to make it a bit darker. And maybe a little bit redder this time too, just because, again, I think that makes it more interesting when you have a bit of dynamic color variance in the same object. Yep. And I'm just going to do the same shading that I did before. Just like that. Yes. And I think that looks really, really good. Because now we just did the same thing again. We have the tricked 3D kind of view again with the frosting this time. And together they look like they make a complete object. And I think it's even better that we did this donut at an angle because we can really see that effect, as opposed to just seeing it straight on and you don't see any lighting. Let me see where I am. So at this point, we can put toppings on a donut if we want. We can put on sprinkles. The way I would do sprinkles is I would make a new layer for everything. I would go back to monoline under calligraphy, and then just whatever color sprinkle I want, I would just draw those on. I'm gonna suggest really bright colors for the sprinkles. Something really, really bright, even just a straight white would be good, because they're gonna be small and they'll be hard to see. So I would just do really small little simple lines like this. And they don't have to be perfect because this is a cartoon. It's a cartoony donut. And these are just sprinkles. And they don't have to look perfect. And you can do more colors than me if you want to. I'm just showing you what I'm doing. It's like we have a little pumpkin spice donut now. It's kind of cute. What color are you making yours?
Uh,
Tell me.
red, pink, green, and white.
Good. I like that. Very colorful. I went a little boring, I guess. So once you're done with that, you just let me know. You can take your time on it. Sprinkles are a big deal, I understand.
I completed them,
Okay.
and I changed the color.
You might have to speak up every once in a while because I can't hear when you say you're done. Sorry.
I'm done.
Okay, thank you. So now that we have our sprinkles, we're gonna do something really, really simple. We can duplicate these sprinkles and literally the bottom layer of those sprinkles out of the two duplicated ones. We'll go back to this little icon, the N that we did before. We're gonna click that, we're gonna scroll all the way up, and we're gonna click multiply. And what this is going to do is it's going to create an illusion of shadow. Because I made white sprinkles, it's kind of hard to see, but it's probably a lot easier to see on yours. But we have this illusion of little sprinkle shadows now. So if we just tap with our finger on that a little bit while it's selected, we can move it really, really subtly. And now it looks like there's even more depth on top of depth. It looks great. All right. So, sorry about that. Okay. So we have this cute little donut now, and I think it looks great. If you have any more edits you want to do to it, please do it now because I'm going to combine all the layers next. So to combine layers when you have clipping masks, um, it's really, really important that you combine the clipping masks down into the main layer before anything else. As well as we saw before, making sure all the layers that you want to be seen are all turned on and are visible. Because it can end up being really, really funky if you just randomly start merging all the layers together. It's not going to be in the order that you meant it, and it can be rough. I usually just start from the bottom, clipping masks first, and then go up. So, for example, I'm going to do that. Great. So once your donut is all just one layer now, so I really hope that you like how it looked because we're not editing those layers anymore. They're all just one layer now. We can move that around on its own, which is really, really great. If you wanted to make like a bigger scene and you didn't want to have a million layers for one random donut in the scene, now you just merge them all together. And what I want to do is I want to duplicate this donut a bunch. So it looks like we have multiple donuts in one space, all for the price of making one. So I'm going to select the donut using this cursor in the menu. I'm going to hit uniform, so that way it stays the uniform size when I scale it up and down. And I am going to scale it so just so there's enough room for two more, because I'm going to make a stack of donuts. That's what I want to do. Oops, I'm going to center that a little better. There we go. So that's our first donut. We're going to duplicate that by swiping like we did before. And now you can just move them into place. Just like that. Until they look like they've been stacked on each other. Just like that. Great. And now you have a little pile of donuts. The last thing I would want to do for this piece aesthetically, uh, before we get into like maybe little nitpicky things, is I want to change the background color because it's been gray this whole time. I originally had it gray because I wanted to see the values in our colors better, but we're done with that. We don't need that anymore. So what I'm going to do is try to make this a really appealing background color just for the sake of this object. Just because the donut is the star of the show, we're not making a scene. So the background that I want to be, I've decided I want to do a complementary color of this donut. So since we've done orange, the complementary color to orange is blue. And you can find that out just by looking opposite of the color wheel, which I'm sure you already know. But you just click that, you find your blue, and then great, I'm going to create a new layer to do that. And just fill that in. Did not work, let me fix it. it's very possible that it's going to end up being too saturated of a color. So no, don't be afraid to mess it up. So just really make it faded or gray because we want the donut to be the main star of the show here. One more thing I think I'm gonna do just to make this cuter is to maybe give it some personality. I'm gonna duplicate one more donut and I'm just gonna have it like leaning on the side here because I think that would be cute. And there you go. There's not much more to do than that because I wanted to just have a really simple, cute little cartoon donut that kind of shows a bit about shading, a bit about clipping masks, and so on. Do you have any questions at all?
Nope.
Great. Is there anything else you'd like me to show you?
Not really.
No? So do you know how to save an image?
No, huh?
Okay. So I won't be insulted if you delete this right after I show you, but I would like if you followed along. To save an image to your iPad that you've done on Procreate, you go up to the wrench in the menu up here. You click that wrench and you go to the share icon and you click what kind to save it as. I'm going to save it as a PNG personally, but you can do whatever you want. And from there, you would just click save image, just like that. And it'll export it for you. So it's very, very simple. Again, the wrench in the top corner of the menu, click share, click your file, that's it. Now you have that picture forever. You could put it in a frame if you want. It looks beautiful and impress all your friends.
Okay.
Do you like how yours turned out? Do you mind if I ask to see it?
Sure. Hold on. I'm finishing it up.
Oh yeah, take your time.
I, I don't know how I'm gonna show you.
Yeah, that's okay. Wait. Let me stop screen sharing and then you can screen share.
Well, I need to join on my iPad, and I don't know how to do that.
So I just drew this as you saw, and I used the file I was already using today, so it's not gonna look that pretty. But what you can do is you can go up to the gear icon at the top, right up here, and you'll see the video part right next to share. If you click that, you'll see time-lapse replay. If you have this button turned on, then that means it's activated. If it's off, then you can't watch what you just did. But if you click the time-lapse replay, you can watch yourself draw.
This is pretty cool.
Yeah, I like it a lot. Well, good job on that. It was really nice meeting you and good luck. If I end up substituting for you again, I'll try to think of something dinosaur themed to do.
Okay.
All right. Well, but have a good one then. Goodbye.
Bye.